What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Javier, and today we're going to be talking about iPhone 15 Pro Max and how it's doing right now after almost a month later of its release. I have personally been loving the Pro Max models. I've been using them ever since. I loved having Pro Max models, even with the iPhone 6 Plus that I have right here. It's such a great size. It's just a good phone to hold in your hand. A lot of people like the smaller phones, which is understandable because a whole lot of people don't like bigger phones. They don't fit in their pocket right away or their back pocket. They just slip out. But I've been using the Pro Max since ever since. And a huge difference between like the 15 Pro Max and the 13 Pro Max that I used to have is the weight reduction. So light, this 15 Pro Max. It's very light in your hand. You can't even feel it in your pocket. When you put it in, depending on the pants, or I guess depending on what you wear, it's gonna stick out a lot for sure. But honestly, it's the best phone so far. Great design, very lightweight. I was so surprised to have this and to feel the difference between 13 Pro Max and the 15 Pro Max. Such a huge difference. So let's talk about design. So design, we have a brand new design. It looks similar as the other previous ones, yes, of course. But now we have titanium, which reduces the weight of the phone. And I did like the stainless steel body, and I've seen a lot of people out and about that have the stainless steel models, and it looks great. It actually looks very nice because it's very shiny when it's out in the sun. But I do prefer the lighter weight titanium. It's very nice in the hand. It's much comfortable to hold like this. You have in your pinky down there, or even like landscape mode. It doesn't really hurt as much as when we had the stainless steel. This is a way better design, and I do like the slimness of it. Honestly, this is the best looking iPhone so far. I do like previous phones. We did have good looking previous iPhones in the past. I still love the iPhone 5 that we used to have back then. It's such a great sleek design. And even the iPhone 10 with its stainless steel body as well. It's such a great phone. I mean, the stainless steel, like I said, it's a super nice design. So this year around, the 15 Pro Max is 8% lighter than the 14 Pro Max. The iPhone 15 Pro is 10% lighter than the 14 Pro this year. So even though they seem different on paper, or they might not sound different to you, having it in your hand, you could feel the difference between both models. It's just incredible how the 15 Pro Max is super light. I almost dropped this once just playing around with the weight, and I almost dropped it. That's how light it is. I mean, it is a little bit slippery, I would say. Not gonna lie, I do put a case on it, but just for the video, I have it out of the case. So comparing both 14 and 15 Pro Max, you might not see a difference between design or weight, but the huge difference right now is display size. The iPhone 15 Pro Max has a 6.7-inch display than the previous model, so it's a little bit bigger, and the borders are a little bit thinner, so you have more real estate to work with. So you're definitely going to notice a huge difference coming from the Pro models to the Pro Max models. So I do notice a huge difference having Pro model or Pro Max models throughout the years that I don't have long fingers or big of enough hand to hold this phone. So it does give me a little bit disadvantage of reaching the top of the screen, or trying to, or just tapping anywhere up here. I have to use the reachability to bring down the screen to tap it. As much as I'd like the bigger screen, it is a little bit harder for me to tap on the apps right up top. And I did notice that when I'm typing on the keyboard, I would have to hold it right in the middle of my palm, and it's kind of hard to reach, to this side of the screen. As you see there, I can't reach all the way, so it's too wide for me and it's too long for me. You can always bring the keyboard to like half of the screen, and it's much easier to type. I personally don't like that because I feel like I can't really touch each letter. It does kind of feel like having the keyboard from this phone onto this phone. I personally don't like how it's great for a lot of people that can't reach across the screen, but me personally, I don't think it's helpful for me. And it's definitely a two-handed phone for me. So I have to constantly use both hands to type, or just to reach up top for anything that I need. This year, Apple introduced the action button, which is only on the Pro and Pro Max models, that replaces the mute switch that we used to have here on the side on older iPhone models. Now we have the action button right up top, and I thought for sure that would help me out pressing it and having it do what I want it to do, to turn on my Apple TV, to turn on my lights, to turn on my Tesla, or any other action that is built to that button. I noticed that it was complete. It's very hard because it's all the way to the top of the phone on the side here, so I have to drop the phone down a little bit to press that button there. I thought that would be very helpful. I mean, it is helpful when you have it set to a shortcut, pre-installed action button tasks that it has. But it's just too high for me. I would have to reach all the way to the top just to press it, or use both hands and press it with one. It's a great feature, but it's just too high up. I wish they would have at least brought it down underneath the volume button down here. That would have been a good placement. It would have felt a little bit odd, but that's where my thumb rests, right underneath that volume, the down volume button. So I think that's a good place to put that action button if Apple decides to move it around. So next let's talk about the camera system. So on paper, the both 15 Pro and Pro Max model have the exact same specs, almost exact same specs. They both have the triple camera system, the 48 megapixel sensor, HDR5 built in, next generation portrait mode, deep fusion, and everything else. The difference between the 15 Pro and Pro Max, the telephoto camera. So the huge difference between the Pro and Pro Max is tetraprism camera. When you open up the camera system and you want to zoom in, you can either do 2 times or 5 times zoom. But now you could go up to, so in the camera system you have a lot of different options. You have the normal wide angle lens, the 24 millimeter lens, 2 times zoom, the 5 times zoom, and the 20 times optical zoom now built in. So that's a huge difference between both. You only have, this is compared to the 15 Pro that only has 3 times X zoom. And I noticed that we have the 5 times zoom, or the 25 digital zoom. It makes me want to actually zoom out and see if it actually works, or see if I could go that far and take a picture. I don't have to get too close to a subject or get close to whatever I want to take a picture. I could actually use the zoom for it. Let me know down below if you guys actually use the Tetra Prism, the 25 times digital zoom down below. I don't use it as often, but sometimes I do if I don't want to get too close to something, or there's something that's too far away that I can't get to. So that's a great option to have. So comparing both 15 Pro and Pro Max models, in portrait mode, the 3 times X zoom, it takes very good photos, but the 15 Pro Max in its 5 times X zoom in portrait mode takes way better pictures. The quality out of the camera is way better in my opinion, and they're both noticeably better between them both if you compare them. So comparing both photos with the 15 Pro portraits and the 15 Pro Max portraits, you could noticeably tell the difference for sure, because the 15 Pro Max cuts out and blurs the background more intensely than the 15 Pro models. The 15 Pro Max has such great quality. Now that we have USB Type-C on the 15 Pro and Pro Max models, you can now record ProRes log 4K 60 onto an external hard drive or an SSD. I personally bought a brand new SSD card to test out the footage myself, so you can easily plug in a flash drive or a hard drive directly to the phone. I did notice though, depending on the SSD or the type of cable you use, the transfer speeds will take a while. There's no way of looking or seeing the progress of the video transferring to the hard drive. If there is, let me know down below, because I really want to know why every time I open my footage from my iPhone onto my computer, there is lag. There's like a weird buffer. Maybe I didn't let it transfer fully. I don't know. I've noticed that before. I've seen a couple other videos that have said depending on the cable you use or the SSD that you use, it'll transfer the footage faster or slower depending on what accessories you have. So video mode has improved completely this year round. 15 Pro Max has that Tetra Prism and 3D shift sensor built inside. Using action mode now is 100% way better on the 15 Pro Max than the 15 Pro. Even though the 15 Pro has optical stabilized, 15 Pro Max has the 3D shift sensor inside the cameras. So when you're on action mode and you start running across, chasing your dog or doing whatever, it'll completely stabilize your video. When you look back on it, you're gonna say this video was not just taken on this phone. I mean, that's how great it is. It's just mind blowing how great action mode is now. Comparing from both, if you're gonna be taking action videos, running, or in a moving car or whatever you're in, and you're gonna constantly be shaking or moving around pretty fast, I would say get the 15 Pro Max because it has 10,000 micro adjustments than the 15 Pro. So the battery life is amazing on the phone. After we fixed all that problem with that huge bug that we had with battery drainage, the overheatage, after that, the battery life has completely changed and has completely lasted me almost a day and a half of usage. I don't have to be worrying to find a charger to plug this guy in. It's lasted all day. Once I take it off the charger in the morning, when I come back home later at night, I still have about 30-35% of battery. So that's how good it is. I could have used it the next day if I wanted to, but I decided not to risk it, but I could have. So when it comes to performance, they're both exactly the same when it comes to the 15 Pro and Pro Max. We do have the A17 Pro chip, and they both have 8 gigabytes of RAM. So comparing both 15 Pro and Pro Max, there's a huge difference between both models is the storage and the price on where it starts. The 15 Pro starts at $999 for 128 gigabytes, and the 15 Pro Max starts at $1199 for 256 gigabytes. For the 15 Pro, you have from 128, 256, 512, or 1 terabyte. The 15 Pro Max, you only have 3 options: the 256 starting price, the 512, or the 1 terabyte price. So this time around, you have more options than you did last previous years because they all kind of looked the same. They all had the same, almost same storage capacity, same price point, same this and that. This year, you notice a lot difference between both models. You do have more options, either from camera, battery, storage, price as well. In my opinion, that I've noticed. Whether you choose one or the other, just sit down and before you buy, look and see what you actually need. I noticed that I do a lot of photography myself, a lot of video as well. So I always go for the Pro Max models because they always come with the higher end camera system. If you're not that type of person that takes a lot of photos professionally or just for fun, I just go to the 15 or the 15 Pro. That's really all you need if you're just going to take family photos, anything like that. So comparing both, like I said, depending on which one you get this year, if you go for the 15 Pro Max, you're not going to feel annoyed having a very heavy phone. This year it's super light. You can't even tell which is which. So with all that, I hope this video was very helpful for you. Let me know down below what iPhone did you get this year. So yeah, let me know down below which model did you get this year. Which one would you prefer going on forward? I always get the Pro Max models myself. They're much comfortable and easier to use. I have a much bigger screen. But yeah, let me know down below what model you got. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up down below. And if you haven't yet already, go ahead and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.